Okay, now we're being recorded. Gulp. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachaline. Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatala Sthanine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. All right, let's read the Bhagavad Gita. Let's read and discuss the Bhagavad Gita. So, model Manga, Hare Krishna. So, Mabala Bangalataka, you like to read the first verse? Your hand is up there. And purple, Sanskrit if you can, then.
Yeah. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartya yataya agayur indriyaryamo mokam partasya jivati. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a person lives in vain. Srila Prabhupada. The Mammonist philosophy of work very hard and enjoy sense gratification is condemned herein by the Lord. Therefore, for those who want to enjoy this material world, the above-mentioned cycle of performing yagyas is absolutely necessary. One who does not follow such regulations is living a very risky life, being condemned more and more. By nature's law, this human form of life is specifically meant for self-realization in either of the three ways, namely Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. There is no necessity of rigidly following the performances of the prescribed yagyas for the transcendentalists who are above vice and virtue. But those who are engaged in sense gratification require purification by the above-mentioned cycle of yagya performances. There are different kinds of activities. Those who are not Krishna conscious are certainly engaged in sensory consciousness. Therefore, they need to execute pious work. The Yagya system is planned in such a way that sensory conscious persons may satisfy their desires without becoming entangled in the reaction of sense gratificatory work. The prosperity of the world depends not on our own efforts, but on the background arrangement of the Supreme Lord directly carried out by the demigods. Therefore, the yagyas are directly aimed at the particular demigods mentioned in the Vedas. Indirectly, it is a practice of Krishna consciousness because when one masters the performance of yagyas, one is sure to become Krishna conscious. But if by performing yagyas one does not become Krishna conscious, such principles are counted only as only moral codes. One should not therefore limit its progress only to the point of moral codes, but should transcend them to attain Krishna consciousness.
Had my microphone off. Hare Krishna. So thank you. Any specific reflections on this? Even Pravatitam Chakram. Yeah. If we had
Chakram means cycle, isn't it?
Yeah,
Chakra.
chakra.
Cycle. So if you don't go in, stay in the cycle of sacrifice, Mugham Partha Sajivati.
Yes, a nice verse. Mogam Partha Sajivati. That means you live in vain. What's the word? Vain. And who wants to live? So life in vain, also in Bhagavatam, is Shama Eva Hi Kevalam, isn't it?
Yeah.
One's occupational duties do not lead to attraction for Krishna. Oh, there's a couple of devotees waiting to come in. Then such a life is wasted. Shama Eva Hi Kevalam. Simply quite strong words, a useless waste of time. Yeah. So anybody who's got 2 legs, 2 arms, and a head, or basically anyone who has a human form of life, we're kind of duty bound, like we have a responsibility to give thanks. You say, give thanks to the Lord. No, but we have a duty to just step outside of selfish activities, just activities dedicated towards our own self or to our own extended self, the family. So we're supposed to give respect to the Supreme Lord. There's a verse I'm just learning at the moment in 11th canto, that unless one gives respect, if one does not respect or intentionally disrespects the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will fall down to a hellish life. So human being is one of responsibility, but the responsibility is to be in a sense of gratitude and devotional gratitude towards the Supreme. So if one doesn't follow that, one will fall down to a hellish life. So hellish life is just basically what you can say, what is the hellish life? Well, we've got the hellish planets, but a hellish life is to live a godless life or atheistic life, and then and the consequence of that is unlimited different types of anxieties and existential crises of one's identity, etc., etc. Yeah. So, but Prabhupada here in the purple is quite a commentary on it. But before I get there, he's encouraging one to go above just the Vedic directives, which are so made to create piety in a person. Yeah. And then eventually, by the association of Brahmins or of Vaishnavas, it is hoped that one comes to the stage of Krishna consciousness. So there's another verse I just came across recently as well, and also in 11th canto. If one makes an exhaustive study of the Vedas, but they don't learn to fix their mind upon the Supreme Lord, then their labor is just like someone who takes great care of a cow that does not give any milk. The only result they have is the labor itself.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Bob.
Yeah. Just on this thing about moral codes, like moral codes are like piety attained through yajna, or
maybe yagna, or it may, yagna for sure, but also being respectful to elders, following the codes of conduct.
So, and then it says we must transcend them to attain Krishna consciousness. But it seems like transcending them, but we always engage in them anyway. So how are we transcending them? Because we follow these moral codes all the time.
Yeah,
Did they go side by side?
Hopefully we do.
Hopefully, well, we're supposed to. Yeah.
Transcend them means kind of you actually realize Vedas chaham eva vedya vedantikrit vedavid eva chaham. You actually realize that the ultimate goal behind all these pious acts is actually to please the Supreme Lord. And you do it out of a sense of devotion and not just social obligation. So in that sense, you could say that in that sense, then you've transcended, because you've understood. There's also earlier, we're in the Gita verses that describe, I think it's 2nd chapter, that
because the goal in following them is for pleasing Krishna.
Yeah. It says all purposes, just as a river can serve, just as a river can serve all the purposes of different wells. So someone who knows the purpose behind the Vedic directives, that person actually is in knowledge. Just paraphrasing that verse, actually. Because, for instance, in the village, traditionally, there's a well for different things. There's a well for getting drinking water. There's a well, I think, for taking bath. There's a well for washing the clothes. There may be. But if you go to the river, then you can do everything there. So one who understands the purpose behind the Vedas, which is to develop love and affection for the Supreme, or to know the Supreme, then they've understood. So to transcend, I think that, it doesn't mean, obviously it doesn't mean you stop. Although there may be some activities, there may be some ritualistic activities that because you've realized Krishna, then you're no longer obliged to actually do a lot of, maybe a lot of the rituals, the ritualistic activities because you have a taste for Shravanam Kirtanam, which is the goal of following all these Vedic directives. So you may desist from some of them, and they'll be in a pursuit of your Krishna consciousness, then you may desist in some of them. And there will be
like
no
I was
reaction.
just thinking,
Yeah,
sorry, if like the eldest son in a family has to perform certain duties, but if he becomes brahmachari, he doesn't have to do any of those things.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah. Hopefully the parents will be very pleased that he's become brahmachari. Often that's not always the case. But yeah, they don't understand that. Actually, yeah, brahmachari is perfectly serving the best wishes of the family by engaging in 100% in the worship of Brahman, which is Krishna. Brahmachari, yeah, it's a good example. And there's quite a little bit here. There's quite a long, extensive commentary here by Gurujan. Now I won't read all of it. Did that answer the question, Mavalabangalatika?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't abandon. It doesn't mean, yeah, we transcend, means abandon. It means we transcend the reason, or we kind of rise above the karma kandic mentality. Yeah, I'll just read the first two paragraphs. He lives in vain because human life is meant for spiritual elevation, and he has wasted that opportunity. He's engaging solely in animalistic endeavors, ensures he's taking a lower birth. The performance of karma kanda sacrifices, however, would gradually purify him by redirecting his desires from concentration on the temporal to concentration on the eternal. Here is, then I just paraphrase it. He gives, it's nice to read, perhaps if you have the opportunity, but I just paraphrased this nice commentary by Burijan. He actually describes the process by which one becomes elevated. So I won't read it word to word, I just paraphrase it. So by following the Vedic system, instead of just living a life directed to satisfying their senses, they actually surrender to Vedic authority. So then they become regulated. Yeah. And they will engage in karma kanda activities. Yeah. So their goal at that stage is to attain prosperity from their pious acts. Yeah, maybe in this life or the next life. So, for instance, they may perform a sacrifice to give birth to a son, or to get a good harvest, or to overcome a disease. Yeah. So these are he describes as low-level sacrifices. But what's happening there, that in order to perform those sacrifices, one is associating with the brahmanas, with the priests. Yeah. So he hears about these sacrifices can elevate him to swaga. Yeah. So, but simultaneously, one's living in this world, so one has to experience a variety of miseries. Yeah. For instance, there may be in a family where the father gets sick and they haven't got enough money to pay for the for any doctor's fees and this and that and this, how. So, yeah. So family, they experience that family members die. He mentions here there's droughts. Sometimes one's riches are stolen. Yeah. So then it describes here how they're pushed to contemplate what's the best thing, what's the meaning of life, and that what's the meaning of life song we used to listen to. So that's what generally happens when one meets these Adi-Bhautic, Adi-Devic, and Adi-Atmic miseries. They think, what the hell is this life about? Often that's how a lot of devotees join, So why should one be satisfied with wealth when it can be stolen? Why be health when all of a sudden we can die? Yeah. Let me, Yeah, let me go to Swagaloka to enjoy. Yeah, in the Nandana gardens. So anyway, I better paraphrase it a bit more. I'm reading quite a bit here. Yeah, so karmakanda sacrifices one attains short-term or long-term results. So it's basic. So what mode is it? Could we say where one is desiring swaga?
Passion?
Passion, yeah. So in other words, what they're doing is just for selfish reasons. Yeah. But they're based on the knowledge that the soul is eternal. Yeah. Because if I do this sacrifice, then I can go to Swagaloka in my next life. So that means they understand a little bit of Atma Tattva. Yeah. And then then the performer will think, I am not this body, therefore I will perform opulent sacrifices, leave this body behind and attain heaven. Okay, I better move forward a bit. And this is the point I can remember here. It's very interesting. So like then he hears from the priest, for instance, about the mishaps in the heavenly planets. Sometimes the demigods are cursed. Sometimes, quite often. Sometimes the heavenly planets get ransacked. Yeah. So then he realized, oh, what's the point of that? Doing all this work to go to Swaga. Yeah. Then I will not find satisfaction. And then it begins to dawn on him more. Yeah. That this whole temporary world is full of misery and anxiety. Yeah. Then it becomes a Gani, Gani, philosophically inquisitive about the meaning of life. Yeah. Then he trusts the priests and the sastras. So then he becomes a little bit more detached. He's no longer thinking of swaga, but he's thinking of leaving the material world. Yeah. So then again, this is Gyanakanda. All right, it's quite a bit more, but then he progresses through the yoga ladder. I just stop there. He presses, then he does selfless acts. Yeah. Then he begins the Nishkam Karma Yoga, where he's detached from the fruits, etc. Then gradually he comes to Krishna. He begins to worship Krishna. Anyway, sorry about that little diversion. So that may take many lives, but we've been blessed with the lift. We've been blessed by Prabhupada to be able to take the bhakti straight away. Yeah. So anyway,
Is it possible that we have already practiced a little bit of bhakti in previous life? That's the reason.
For sure. Prabhupada, in more than one place, he says it's almost definite. Yeah, it's almost definite. But as one devotee, he spoke to me recently, he had his astrology done. And he was all, and last life he was in Mayapur as a brahmachari. But he blew it. He blew it and he fell down. He was there in Mayapur, and then he got married, and still he was, blah, 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 falling down. So then he took birth again. So in one sense, yeah, we was practicing our last life, but obviously we didn't make it back. So here we are again. But by the blessings of Krishna, we are carrying on exactly from where we left off. And as we know, there's no loss of diminution. So yes, Maharaj Kishore, that is generally the case. So that there may be exceptions. By the potency of a great devotee, he can infuse bhakti even in persons who may not have come in contact with bhakti before. That's also possible. But generally, we're going to be attracted because of previous either unknowing bhakti or knowing or bhakti ummukhi sukruti, like that.
What's this Prabhu situation? How is he situated now in this life? The
Oh,
one
it's
you
good. He's practicing devotional service, and he's
yeah, that's what I wanted to, like, you know.
yeah, he's practiced devotion. There's a few things floating around in a psyche coming from the last life,
Yes, yeah.
but he's fully engaged.
Focused,
Fully
right.
engaged. Yeah, he lives. He doesn't live here. He lives somewhere else. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And you see in different devotees, when they just come in, how some really jump up so quickly to a really good standard, you know?
Yeah, you could say smoothly. You know,
Yes.
the path is smooth. It's just one thing after another. You know, first, second, service, this, that. Others, they may come and go from the temple for 5 or 6 or 10 years or more.
Yes.
You know, and may not take initiations, but they will at some point in the next life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And who are the ones that come back into, like, opening hospitals and, you know, charity things?
Well, they're pious.
Yeah, they're pious, but
they're pious.
who goes to heavenly planets and they then come back and start.
Yeah, well, that's described in the that will be described in Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
They will come back after their pious activities are exhausted. Yeah, but the idea is that if we hear these teachings from Krishna, and Prabhupada subsequently, we can finish things off in this life.
Yeah.
The idea, and that's what Krishna encourages as well later on in Gita, is especially in attaining the supreme. There's many verses where he describes about the temporary nature of the heavens and the eternity of the spiritual world, like that. Yeah, there's something else I was going to say, but I just forgot. Yeah, it's often not an easy journey. There may be, like, in Scotland, for class, we was reading the history of Chitraketu. Interesting. He's a pure devotee, and he was all set to go back to Godhead. You know, all set to go back to Godhead. Then he got cursed by Parvati, and had to take birth as a demon. You know, a big demon with sharp teeth who was not a vegetarian. But he still had his devotional mentality. So his prayers are very much wonderful prayers. So it's not, and so for instance, I'm just saying, for instance, just comes to mind, like, even if you take birth in a devotee family in your next life, it's not necessarily always going to be like, it may be, but it may not. There may be the problems that come with it. You know, we hear many stories. Sometimes we hear of Gurukul children going right off the rails. I mean, right off the rails into heroin and cannabis, and that's the light thing, cannabis, drugs, and sometimes all types of horrific things make your hair stand on end. But
can I ask?
Yes.
What about the ones which are Rakshasha Gana, but they are Brahmins?
They what?
They are Rakshasha demons, but Brahmins.
Yeah, your voice has gone through the tube.
If
I can hear you.
Do your chart, usually you can have, when you do your astrology. Yeah. So let's say when you do your chart, astrological chart, you can be human, you can be a Brahmin, or you can be a demon. But in the same time, you can be a Brahmin. What about those? Because they are demons, were demons because they are cursed, but actually they've been Brahmin in previous life?
I couldn't quite follow your question. Let me think.
So,
are you asking
if
someone is a... Oh, mother guys just for...
yes.
Rakshasha Brahmin. So you're asking what was the situation in the last life to be in a Rakshasha Brahmin? Well, they made some grievous offense, as far as I've understood, if I've understood your question.
Yeah, yeah.
So therefore, I mean, there is such, and they're supposed to be quite powerful, actually. I don't know how true it is, but there's one friend of mine many years ago, he'd telling me these horrific stories of his being chased down by a Brahmin Buddha. He used to be a Brahmin, but now he's a ghost. Anyway, let's not go down there so much. But obviously, I think I've understood your question. So something, yeah, something in some is reaction in last life. Brahman Rakshasha. Sounds a contradictory in
That's
terms.
but that's mean it's let's say next life they will be purified by those demoniac whatever how you were
Yeah,
saying.
I mean that's the it's like a prison sentence. You have to do your time, you know. You have to pay your dues. I mean it's just like our karma. There may be 5 or 6 years where we have to deal with a particular type of karma, you know, a typical type of bent of mind. We just have to and we have to tolerate, and we keep on going with our devotional service. There may be a point in our life where we're going to be sick for 2 or 3 years. You know, it's their karma. I mean, there may be a point in our life where we're going to have no money for 10 years. You know, no matter what we do to try and make money, it's just useless. Just their karma. And we have to sit through it. And it can easily be done if we take to Krishna consciousness, because then despite our karma, we can experience happiness and joy and peace because we're taking shelter of Krishna. You know, so whatever happens going to happen, just let it happen, my Lord. I'm still going to serve you. Actually, my Lord, I deserve more. Thank you. Thank you, my Lord. You have taken away my house, and now I'm living in a tent in the grounds in Bhaktivedanta. Thank you so much. Anyway, like that. Let's get on to another verse, shall we? Let's get on to another verse. So,
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
yes, Mata.
Is Chitraketu's also karma that he had to, at the last minute, he has to finish it? It is also his purification?
Well, it's more for, he could say, for an exalted soul like him. I mean, like he was a pure devotee. I mean, he actually got darshan of the Lord.
He is teaching us.
Yeah, he actually had darshan of the Lord.
Yeah.
And he was a greatly exalted devotee, but it wasn't a smooth path for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still.
So is he selected to teach us, or
Yeah,
his
for
karma?
sure. Probably, I mean, yeah, someone asked a question in the class, actually. Bhagavatam doesn't give a description of previous lives of Chitraketu. It just picks it up from his life as Chitraketu and then as Ritrashura.
Yeah.
So no doubt there may be there's some drama or Mahabharata in his life there, which led to that. Yes. All right, let's read. Who's got their hand up there? Raj Kishore, you like to read number 17?
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yasva atmarati revasyad atmatruptascha manava atmanyeva cha santushta tasya karya na vidyate. Translation. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Purport. The person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, an effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations.
Yes. Let me just read this little commentary here. These verses describe an Atmarati, one who takes pleasure in the self. That means the soul, not like selfish. Yeah. Take pleasure in the self. Such a person is not concerned with loss or gain, as we was mentioning, while performing his duty, nor is he disturbed by obstacles. The next verse explains whether or not such a person should work. Okay. So the point is that this person will, although he is Atmarati, he's taking pleasure in the self, but he's still going to face loss and gain in doing his duty. Things will go right and things will go wrong, but he or she is not disturbed. Yeah. So it doesn't mean, as I'm sure we've kind of, also Krishna lessens the reactions for a devotee, but we will have to face the dualities in this world. But someone who's Krishna conscious, they are not, as Prabhupada says, they are, because there's, in other words, their satisfaction that they get from their relationship with Krishna floods out any grief or anxiety that come from being in the material world and its in dualities. For them, it's like, you heard this saying, water of a duck's back. You know, water of a duck's back. It's not really, it doesn't, whereas a materialistic person, the anxieties they face grind them like, they really often can really feel it to the point of depression, suicide, etc. Painting a graphic picture. But devotees may experience the dualities of this world, but they're getting abundance of pleasure from their devotional activities. Yeah. So therefore they can tolerate. Yeah.
But such a calamity can come until the last hour of our life. We could be about to go and some silly calamity can come in.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, the death itself is a calamity. Yeah. It may be that, yes. So we have to depend. We completely surrender ourselves unto Krishna. It may be a calamity. You may have some heart attack and then the ambulance gets stuck in a traffic jam. Well, that's Krishna makes these arrangements. Basically, Krishna is looking after his devotees. So whatever the devotee has to face, we see it as being, we actually take shelter of Krishna. But it's right, yeah, calamities are there in this world. Reversals are there. Even if you chant 32 rounds a day or 64 rounds a day, doesn't mean you're not going to face reversals. But the difference is that you will be able to keep yourself afloat.
But if you have heart attack, then you're gonna, if you die and you have heart attack, then you come out through the heart and not through the head.
Really? No, I haven't heard that one.
No?
Have you heard that? No, there's no, there's a whole, no, I haven't heard that. The soul may leave through the mouth or the top of the head. A sinful person will leave through the back door. I think we all know what the back door is. Mm-hmm. Very painful. But generally, devotee will leave through the mouth. The yogi will leave through the Brahma, through the head. Yeah.
Well, I think like devotees would, as they're going through their spiritual life and making progress, they would learn to make right decisions, even if you're going through calamities, whatever, like with the center.
Yeah, that's right. So that would, it's a good point. I mean, they live a sattvic life. So, so they will avoid a lot of the stress that comes from a passionate life.
Yes, yeah.
But still things are going to come.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
It's going to come because of your purification, right? From your previous karmas. Could be from many lives,
Yeah. But it's a good point you're making now. I think this is a good point Mother Chandravali is making, that our lives are generally less confusing and complicated than the gross materialist who's in the mode of passion, ignorance. Just leading a regulated life, being clean, having, you could say, spiritual duties that we do, etc. Trying to, being conscious of the need to have good relationships, trying to avoid anger, trying to avoid agitation, lust, etc. This is then we can live in a mode of goodness, but the mode of goodness, it doesn't mean we're not might not, devotees get sick, Devotees get cancer, devotees have road crashes, etc., etc.
Mm.
Devotees get entangled in legal things, you know. But but the mode of goodness definitely sets one up for staying sane. You could say, you could keep your head, you can stay sane in the mode of goodness. Yeah, actually, we probably don't realize, or well, I guess we may do, actually, we probably, what people go through as far as, people go through who are not Krishna conscious, you know, the anxiety, the grief, and the frustrating situations they have to face and the disappointment situations they have to face. I mean, that's why if you're sitting on a tube or looking at people in general, they generally look quite horrified. The look on their face is one of sometimes it's terror. It's just depression for most people. Yes, Madhumango Peru? Yeah.
I was saying hellish life. They experience hell even in this world.
Yeah.
Very hellish life.
Of course, it will be different degrees. You know, if they're, I mean, not everyone. I mean, a lot of people are religious, believe it or not. There are quite a few religious people on the planet, whether they're Muslims or Christians, and they will have some sense of right living and a right action. So they're going to be relatively freer. I'm creating a worst case scenario, a really demonic person who has no regard for God in any shape or form and is selfish. Then, yeah, sometimes the whole families can be like that, and their interaction just like animals. Yeah, this scene I remember many years ago, I was on book distribution in this Andover, I think it was. We used to do this town called Andover. And there was this mother, and she had her 3 or 4 children behind her. And by the look at the way she dressed and the way the family dressed, it looked like an horrific family. It looked like, they looked unkempt and quite wild looking. And this mother, she was walking in front and she opened her purse. And she looked fearful because her children were right behind her. And like animals, the children grabbed her purse and just stole the money from her. And it wasn't a joke, it was serious. And her mother she was shaking. She actually got attacked by her children when she got the purse out. And they stole her money. So I saw that scene. I was shocked. You could see the mother was petrified and she was scared. Obviously, she was bullied. Obviously, that household was, hell. And they're living together under one roof and living like animals. Sorry, painting quite a graphic picture again on the material. But that's what it is. For other persons who are more religious, then their life experience will be different. So anyway, if we think we're having a hard time, actually, we're not. Compared to what people go through, we're not God conscious. Yeah. Anyway, any other questions or comments on this? I haven't left everyone in shock.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Nitai Mata.
Yeah, being religious, I do understand, and you did mention whether Muslim or Christian being religious.
All right.
How much
I think I know what's coming.
fail to understand if they are being religious, why they are so much they want to eat meat and meat.
I guess that question was coming. Let's not worry about that. Let Krishna take care of that, whatever. But they believe in God. That's something. That's something. All right, they're eating meat and all types of things that we can't relate to it. And what type of religious life is that? But they're theistic. Okay, they've got a long way to go. Got a long way to go. But at least they're theistic. At least they believe in God. I've met many decent Muslims. They're probably eating halal meat and things like that. but they're very respectful because they know
Yeah.
the Quran tells them to be respectful and to be charitable, but
Yeah.
their religious principles are not on the Suda platform,
Yeah.
not on the pure platform. But still, let's appreciate that they are religious and they have some sense of spiritual practice. So let's just focus on that, you know.
We know the story of Chankazi and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know,
Yeah, go on. You can.
how he was like, they were. It's in Quran. They can eat this meat, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's they can be like really good, but they're allowed to eat certain type of meat.
Yeah. I mean, we can't relate to it. For us, it doesn't. You know, it's abominable. You know, but
Yeah.
at least they get down on their knees and they pray to the Lord. You know.
Yeah. Now it is Ramadan, and they
It's
literally.
better than someone who's, you know, who's eating the meat and is not at all submissive or doesn't care about Krishna or doesn't care about God.
I think they're penances, especially Ramadan. So it's a like penance. The full day
Yeah.
they fast, and I think this will bring them closer to the Lord in that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's try and just, you know, okay, at least they're doing something. At least they're believing some type of prayer. Any other questions on this?
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right, let's. So, Raj Kishore, you like to read text 19? Who read the last verse?
I did.
I did. Okay, so Madhu Mangal Prabhu, you like to read text 19?
Yeah, I think it's text 18, no?
18.
Yeah.
18.
Okay, excuse me, 18. Yeah.
Naiva tasya kritenardo nakretena kashkar nachashya sarva bhuteshu kashchi arta vyapash.
Right,
Translation: a self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Purport: a self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and accept activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verse. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation.
Yeah, okay. So much on the same point. This is real freedom. This is someone who's unbound. Yeah. And Krishna will go on to explain, what's the time? Yeah, he will go on to explain how still, despite this, then they will do their duties. Yeah. So they have no purpose. They have no material purpose to fulfill in doing their duties. Or is it a reason not to perform such work? Yeah. So sense of detachment there. The person is Krishna conscious.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
So
please.
before we came to Krishna consciousness, we were in debt to the demigods and to the Pitris.
We were, well, we were probably many things before we came to Krishna consciousness, different forms of life and different.
And after we come to, yeah, I mean, related to this verse, it says we were indebted to the demigods, but now being in Krishna consciousness, we are not. We are like free from any debt.
Yeah. What's that verse we recited the other day? Deva Rishi Budaptaninam Napituniyam Nayam Chani Charajan Savatmana Saranam Saranyam Kato Mukundum Kuriruchikatum. Yeah, but someone who surrendered to Krishna, they are no longer indebted to the demigods, the sages, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. All such persons are part and parcel of the Supreme. So by serving the Supreme, you are serving everyone.
That's what was relating to this verse.
Yeah.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, I just wanted to ask, You said someone who is surrendered. So coming to Krishna consciousness does not mean that we are surrendered, Prabhu.
Yeah, this is, yeah, we spoke on this before. Can anyone give an explanation to that? So this verse, see if you can remember what I explained before from my little tiny perspective. So the verse says, if you surrender to Krishna, then you're not obliged to separately serve one's family, one's forefathers who passed away, the sages or the great rishis.
That is only for surrendered souls, not for myself anyway.
So that means you should start worshipping demigods then?
No, Prabhu. I'm not
Is
saying
that what you're saying?
no, that's not what we are saying.
But
What
why are
I'm
you not
saying,
worshipping demigods?
no, we are not worshipping because Supreme Lord is just say, but we respect them. It's like sun, everybody, we are getting many things from them. We need to respect.
Yeah, so in other words, that you have surrendered. In other words, you're not dependent on demigods. You're not worshipping Durga.
No.
You're not worshipping Shiva. You mean you give them respect.
Yeah.
That's because, why is that? Because you've taken shelter of Krishna.
Yeah.
So, okay, out of humility, I mean, that's a safe place to be in, that we're trying to take shelter. But that's another subject. That's like the internal devotional disposition of a devotee who's developing humility, is that we never think we're surrendered. We're always on the path of Sharanagati. So from a
Prabhu, this is not humility, Prabhu. This is the real.
yeah, that's humility. That is from the subjective point of view, but from the objective point of view, you have taken vows, you have surrendered to a guru, you have taken vows to chant the holy name, etc. So that's the surrender that's required for you to no longer have to engage in karma kanda or to worship demigods. Actually, if you do worship demigods, because you've taken shelter of the parampara, that will be an offense.
Yeah, it's offensive.
It'd be an offensive. It would be because you haven't. Yeah, it would be offensive.
What about? Sorry, I interrupt.
Them.
What about?
Sorry, I was just going to say one point. We can pray to them to give us, to keep us in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, you can pray to anyone. You can pray to the temple president. You can pray to anyone. People say, yeah, why not? They're all Christian. They're all devotees, so we can pray to them for, please, Mother Durga, please make me a devotee. Shiva, please keep me out of ignorance. Yeah, why not?
But what about? Sorry, maybe it's irrelevant. But why they say to chant in the bead bank? Because otherwise the demigods will benefit from your chanting. Or in the same time, when you chant your Gayatri mantra, you need to hide. Maybe it's irrelevant, but it came into my mind now.
Well, generally, I've understood that. From what I've understood, is that comes in a line of to maintain the spirit of humility. One should keep one's guru secret. One shouldn't say, one should be what's the word I describe? One shouldn't advertise their guru. Oh, I'm initiated by so and so. Keep secret, and in the same way, out of humility, then we keep beads covered. It's said like that, and also Prabhupada never covered his hand while chanting Gayatri. By the way, if you look at Prabhupada, any pictures that he never covered his hand. But generally, you might do it. It's off the subject a little bit. I mean, I cover my hand when I'm chanting Gayatri, when I'm on the public transport or something like that, because otherwise you get some, I don't want to attract the weird attention, All right. Okay, so let's look at text 19. Okay, Mother Chandra.
There was a message here. Sorry, Murli Prabhu. There was a message.
From
if
Gaia.
You can, does it mean Sharangati?
Oh, Sharangati. Okay, let me just more message. I'm not looking. I should chat. Okay, yeah. Rakshashabam, Prabhu, could you please explain Shaunagati? That's the Shaunagati is the sixfold path of surrender. And next time you come to the temple, when you're walking down the stairs, you walk under the lotus footprints of, I think it's Lord Chaitanya.
Yes.
And next to that, it explains the 6 principles of Shaunagati, and with a little explanation. So let's together try and come up with them. Devotees know this, I think. One is one is humility. Anyone knows what the others are? To develop humility,
To have full faith.
to full faith in the Lord. I'm just going to look. Patience.
There or no?
Yeah, let me just. I want to. I should. I mean, we should know, because actually we should know, because we're trying to surrender. And this is the process of surrender. In 6 processes of. I think it's to feel completely dependent on
Dainya.
Dainya. Have you got the verse there?
No, I haven't, but because I
Yes.
listened to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's.
Yeah, here it is. I've got the 6 divisions of surrender are the acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service, the rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will give protection, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, and full self-surrender and humility.
Yeah.
That's the path of Shaunagati. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written wonderful songs in every one of them. Yeah. Okay.
See, this is what I mean. You know this, but you can't, it doesn't come out when you want it to.
Yeah.
You know,
That's why we
you meditate on these things all the time. All right.
Yeah. So next time you're walking down the stairs, you're walking from the temple room down to the reception, have a look up and you'll see that. And you can read it every time you come down the stairs for the next week or so. And then you help you to remember it. There's like an A4 laminated thing, either under or next to Krishna's lotus feet, or Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. Okay. So which verse are we on now? 8 minutes left, 7 minutes left. We're on
19.
19. Okay, so who was Madhu Mangal just read that one? So Chandravali, Mavi, you like to read this one?
I will read the Sanskrit as I read it, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tasmad ashakta satatam karyam karma samachara asatto hi acharam karma param apnoti purusha.
Purushaha.
Okay, translation. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. Purport. The supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalist. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness under proper guidance and without attachment to the results of the work is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. That is the perfect action of the highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Vedic rituals like prescribed sacrifices are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities but is completely non-attached.
Okay. So
I just heard something about like a guru gave an instruction to a disciple, like Krishna is telling Arjuna, you have to do what you have to do under the circumstances. It was really like, you know.
You have to do what you have to do under the circumstances, yes. So
Really, yeah, sometimes you have to do things for Krishna.
Yeah.
Arjuna has to do,
Yeah, he has to. Yeah, has to do. And it's nice because at the end, after Krishna's speaking to him, he's fired up to do it.
Yeah.
That verse at the end, 18th chapter. Now I'm ready. I'm fired up. He's not just, he's doing it. What he's heard is completely transformed his consciousness completely. But this is, I mean, I have a personal experience of this, not being attached to the results of what you're doing. And I generally, I'm still struggling with this after so many years, specifically on book distribution, where you're out on the street and you're trying to stop people and it's quite obvious, or then you just, there's no result. Sometimes I've been on the street and I'm trying to distribute books and I can be there 5 or 6 hours and not do one book or do one book. And it ain't easy just to say, oh, okay, okay, I just depend on Krishna. But actually, I have to admit, I'm doing a bit better than what I used to be, because I'm quite used to not distributing so many books. But it's not. Sometimes it may not be so easy when you're, because to not be attached to the result, because Krishna will test you. Because you'll get tested. Okay, are you not attached to the result? Okay, well let's see, because I ain't going to give you any result. And then how do you react then? If you start to squirm and complain and become, thinking of stopping doing it, then it means it's so you're not. So are you are you as unattached as you thought you were? And I've seen somebody wrote on book distribution as well, especially when they normally do big, they normally do well, and then one day, if they don't distribute a book for like 2 hours, they have a nervous breakdown practically. Somebody wrote so they kind of so it's not so easy, but by Krishna's grace we can develop this, just to take pleasure in the service itself. That's what I learned on book distribution, just to take pleasure that I'm out there trying to stop people. It's nice. It's just nice doing that. It's nice getting out of the comfort zone, standing on the street and trying to stop people. There's a great satisfaction and pleasure that comes from it. Anyway, any other comments on this? This is what's being asked of Arjuna. Yes.
Before we start the book distribution, we have to go in front of Gaurnitai and pray to them to be able to give out their names.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, you don't have to. It's not a regulative principle, but it's definitely I mean, that would be highly recommended.
And it helps.
Yeah, so that's what, obviously it sounds like that's what Bhagavad Gita does. He prays.
That's what it says to do. Whatever you do, even when you leave the house, you should go and pray to the deities.
Yeah. So this is what Madhu Mangal does. Whenever he leaves the house, he prays.
If you leave the house, if you go to, I don't know, you go to the doctor, you go to school, you go to the service, you need to go and pray to the deities and say, please help me, because everything is in their hands, not our hands.
Yeah, it's nice. This is called developing a devotional mentality. Yeah. Or developing a dependency on the Lord. Yeah. Praying. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. It's like Krishna Priya always famously says when he say goodbye to him, I will see you tomorrow. He say, Krishna willing. Krishna willing, I will see you tomorrow. Krishna willing, I might not see you ever again. Krishna's,
because in the end, he's the one who wakes you up in the morning. It's not ourselves. We think it's ourselves, but he's the one who helps us with everything. It's just we are used to control everything, but he's helping us with everything. He provides everything.
Yes. Thank you. This is nice. Yeah, this is devotee. This is what we're trying to develop. Be Krishna conscious. All right, let's pause there, shall we? Time 7:01. But don't worry, we can continue tomorrow.
And you have to send the link again.
Yeah, I'm going to send a link. That means I have to start the meeting as well. I nearly forgot that today. I was sitting there waiting for the meeting to happen. Then I realized, I've got to press the button. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I'm sure we've got something from this reading today and discussion. I certainly have, and I'm sure you have as well, something to reflect upon these wonderful teachings of Krishna. And look forward to carrying on tomorrow, chapter 3, text 20.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Morley Prabhuji.
Yes,
I
Mother.
I missed Bhagavad Gita class last week because my grandchildren came to stay with me.
Yeah.
Which link do I have to go to listen to those classes?
What I can do, Chandravali has your phone number, I think.
Yes.
So
yes.
I can send you the link and she can forward it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Just
you.
see it there. You just look under Bhagavad Gita.
forget.
Just see.
Thank
And
you.
please don't forget to subscribe and share on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you put a like as well, if you put a thumbs up, that's always encouraging.
One last minute question, if I may.
Yes, please.
Did I dream it up, or did we discuss having 1 hour and a half instead of 1 hour? Where did that go?
Uh-huh.
Come on. I cook right.
Yeah, I remember we had that discussion.
At least for the summer, only summer.
Oh yeah,
Winter,
that
you make it a bit shorter.
All right, let's think about it. Let's consider that.
5:30 would be good then.
Maybe 2 days per week could be a bit longer, or 3
Yeah.
days.
Or why don't we?
5:30 to 6 for 7.
Yeah, why don't we start 1 day a week and just see how it goes?
1 day a week. Oh, that is short.
No. Yeah, because for me, I've got a few things going on, and kind of hour.
Yes.
I can do an hour and a half, but sometimes I might not be able to.
Understood. Okay, understood.
You know.
Yeah.
But let's which one would you like to go for hour and a half? Okay, let's commit. If everyone's in agreement, I mean, you can discuss amongst yourselves. Some of you might be in the same position as perhaps I mean, the 1 hour might be the most you can do. But if you like to, then actually you can discuss with Chandravali. You can discuss together, and one of our readings, one of the 4 readings, we can take it to hour and a half. You can do it. That could be either Sankalpa, it could be a Brihat Bhagavatamrita, it could be Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita.
Anyway, I'll leave
Thursdays would be great.
Okay, everybody send me whatever they want, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
we'll.
That's the system. We'll take it from there. Okay.
Because
Send
Bhagavad
me
Gita is
the-
going to be long, so it's better you have longer session.
All right. So Nitai Mata is going to vote for Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita.
But just
Bhagavad
send
Gita.
me your
If
message.
this is happening, I don't mind which book.
Because
All right,
that's the basic.
I guess.
Okay.